One question we frequently get at Smithers Oasis is, how can I attach wedding flowers to a metal frame, like an arch or an arbor? Actually, it can be done exactly the same way as you would do if it were a wood one or some other material, but you have to be a little more careful with metal. It's a little more slippery. So what I like to do is use something a little smaller in those sections. I like to use a Floracage Grande, or if my arrangement can be really small, just a regular Floracage. I like to attach it with bind wire. I've taken the bind wire, cut a piece, found the middle of it, and then I will take that circle, bring the ends through, pull it back around the holes that are in my Floracage to hold it in place. Pull it really tight and then hold it in place. I can also use floral tape. Waterproof floral tape works well. I think that if you use the 1/2 inch size, that works best because it holds the best. You can also use cable ties, and that works as well. Now I'm going to make a small arrangement to pop in place, and then I hope you'll come to see the video showing how to utilize that. One thing that I like to say when I'm using hydrangea is quick dip, quick dip, quick dip. It is the most important thing. Be sure that you take your hydrangea and remove all of the leaves from the flower, and then just pour a small amount of quick drip into a bowl. Cut your stem at a slant, dip it into the quick dip, and then put it into your water with flower food. And that will help your hydrangea to last longer. The other thing you can do before you deliver the design, be sure to use Crowning Glory to finish it off. That doesn't have wax, but it has wax-like properties that seal the water in to the florets, and that helps that flower to hold. So now to create my design, I think this one would be really pretty with some callas. I'm going to cut my calla at a sharp slant, and then I'm going to cut it from the other direction too, because it needs to be like an arrow going into the foam. Because I want it to connect in the foam really well, I'm going to use either a large toothpick or a small wood pick in place so that I can add it into the foam. Make sure you connect the flower stem into the water, but the wood pick does help to hold it in place because it will expand in the water, and when it swells up in there, then it helps to hold it and helps to wick the water up to it also. Now, measuring my flower against the other one to see which direction I want to go, and then adding my calla so that I'll bring the eye down through my design. Now you'll notice I'm placing them at different heights. I want each flower face to show its true value. Also, that'll help me to cover the handle. The handle's important because we want to use it to connect. Next, I'm going to come in with my Green Trick Dianthus. The Green Trick adds just a really rich texture to the design. You know, texture is the luxury of design. It's the tactile quality that grabs the eye and says, oh, this is something different, something unusual. I think I'll make him a little shorter. When I pulled him out, I either have to go directly back into that same hole that he came from, or I have to just cut the stem off at the foam so I don't leave a hole or a weak spot in the foam that I've created by removing a stem. I add the dianthus, and then I want to come with my important flower, my lily. Lilies are a beautiful wedding flower, but they're meant to be special. They're meant to be highlighted. So I want to add them across the top. Again, if this is going to be outdoors, I've pulled off my foliage. I don't want anything wicking that water away from my flowers. So I'm adding my lilies here, coming back up in the direction of my calla, and just across on the other side. I think this one looks pretty. Maybe a little shorter. Again, giving that arrow cut, one cut on each side. So now I've created my form, and I can begin with my basing. I'm going to cut a little bit of this hydrangea off because he was so far down the stem, and I need to be sure the hydrangea gets into the water right down to the actual stems, because hydra means water. This flower needs a lot of it. all of these are processed. That's one thing you want to do when you're preparing for your weddings. As your flowers go in, go ahead and go ahead and divide them out by the buckets for the different jobs. Bridesmaids in each separate bucket, ceremony pieces in each, so that your flowers, as they're processed, are cleaned and processed for design. And then all you have to do on design day is just pull them out and add the flowers into your designs. It makes it a lot quicker. The lesser number of times you handle a flower, the more money you make from it. So now I've added my stems in, and I'm just going to finish off the little bit of carnation for basing. Just finished covering my cage. Now before I started, I used the 1/4 inch waterproof tape to just loop around on top of the cage in 2 places. I'm an old florist and I like for things to feel secure. So that way it just gives me a little bit of added security. Turn it around. Add just a little bit of carnation to the other side. I personally love carnations. Great texture, good price, and holds up so well. I think it's the workhorse of the wedding flower. Now, to finish it off, I am going to add a few beautiful roses. Brides always love roses. And I'm highlighting them. They come atop the dianthus and atop the carnations. So they're the ones that are seen along with my lilies and my callas. Be nice to add a few dendrobium orchids to the mix too, wouldn't it? Okay. Again, I am grouping those flowers. That means putting them together like flowers alike, like they would grow in the garden. But I'm not clustering them. I'm not losing the definition. You can tell each flower's face, and therefore you know the value of each flower. Whereas clustering, like carnations or hydrangea, you put them so close together, it's just one mass of flowers. Save these 2 for the other side. You can still see my mechanics right now. You'll notice the handle and some of the foam. That'll be covered up when we get out on our arch. I'll add this eucalyptus and hide that. And the other thing I'm going to add when I get there is some trachelium and some eryngium. But that's going to be my flowing materials for the design. So I'm going to wait till we meet at the arch. I'll see you there.